Hi, I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm here with Chenxi Wang, who is from Rain Capital, visiting New York City. Hello,
Yes.
Chenxi, how are you?
Good to see you, Ed.
It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, let's tell us a little bit about Rain Capital, and then we
Right.
can talk about some cybersecurity and industry and a lot of other things.
Right. I started Rain Capital last year. It's a venture capital fund focused on early stage innovation in the cybersecurity space.
Yeah.
So very excited about it. It's 1 year old and it's done a lot of interesting work.
We were together at a conference, must have been somewhere around here, and you gave a talk and I ran up afterwards and I said, that was a great talk. Could you come do an interview? Yeah, it was very interesting.
Thank you, yeah. And many years ago, when I was a Forrester, you keynoted one of the Forrester conference, and I remember that talk really well too.
Yeah.
And we've been in the cybersecurity industry for a long time. Things have changed quite a bit, huh?
They have. I'm getting older, you stay the same.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind.
That's right. Now, what are some of the themes that you see in cybersecurity? We were chatting earlier.
Right.
Take us through some of the things you're seeing.
Yes. So, as part of my work as an investor, and also I'm a researcher, right, analyst, and so researcher at heart. So always try to stay on top of what the current technology trends are.
Yeah.
So one trend that I've been following very closely is the emergence of cloud native technologies, and I'm looking at what companies like Google, Netflix, Uber, those companies are doing in terms of infrastructure innovation, and how security is built into that journey of innovation. It's very interesting how, if you look at Google, they're transitioning from, say, HTTP2 to gRPC now as a remote protocol. And gRPC offers much higher performance, much higher throughput and scalability. And then you're looking at some of the new proxy technologies that they're building, and it's completely API-centric. So the data plane and the control plane are decoupled in a very logical way. And then you can do extremely high performance data playing and with very sophisticated control playing separate from it. So you can change things independently. And that allows them to, have very flexible, high throughput network that is 100% visible and controlled. And I see a lot of high tech companies are moving that way. I was recently at KubeCon, and there's a side conference called EnvoyCon. It's about the new proxy technology, and it's like standing room only. And everybody wants to learn this new open source technology and understand how to deploy in their own environment. And I'm, of course, interested in security and seeing these technologies have, for instance, mutual TLS built in as a building block is very exciting to me.
So the idea is that instead of a network with computers and IP addresses, it's a cloud operating system and their workloads working through APIs. Is that what cloud native means?
So cloud native has kind of like that, but there's a few specific things. It's containerized workload. Right. It is orchestrated, right? So your workload can be anywhere on any server at any time, but you at any time point.
So it decouples infrastructure from applications.
That's right. Infrastructure from application,
right.
And also you have 100% visibility. At any given point in time, you say, hey, let me know where my application is running, on which server, on what version of OS. You can get it right there. And then you can have policies saying, oh, if this happens, move these workloads over there, and it can be done automatically.
So when you're looking at security companies, are you kind of looking for that? Like if you see that they're not really focused on cloud, does that, in some sense, make them a little less attractive?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, as an investor, you want to focus on companies that are innovating, right?
Yeah.
So if you're still working on old infrastructure technology, then you say, no, not so sure, right?
Not doing any mainframe startups lately?
No hardware, no mainframe.
I'll bet you mainframe security people make a fortune.
They probably are.
There's probably
because
three people left in the world who can do it, right?
Scarcity.
Maybe there's the next big. I'll have to write a proposal to do what are those IBM servers?
Have you ever worked in mainframe
I managed a
environment?
team for 20 years doing RACF, and I never quite understood it, and I never liked it. But I knew it was important, and I know those things still run somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
good heavens. Now, what in addition to cloud native, what are some other themes that you think are important?
One thing that I'm looking at very closely is also data security, right? So, and you and I have been in security industry for a long time. We know that in the past, a lot of effort are put on network. Right, networking security, segmenting the network, and
building a big perimeter.
Right, building a big perimeter and put something on the devices. It's all infrastructure level security. But today, with the advent of GDPR and other data level, not only regulations but also really security requirements, we're seeing companies are really putting more focus and investment on data level protection, right? Understanding where your data is, understanding how to protect it, and respond to a specific adversarial condition, all levels of data protection capabilities that we're seeing companies starting to truly deploy. Right?
Well, you have to do that in a containerized environment. How do you build a perimeter? Right, it doesn't makes no sense. You have to travel with the data, travel with the workload.
The protection has to travel with data. So that's one thing that we're seeing new innovation. So I'm looking at that.
Is encryption still an important control in data security?
I think so.
I would think it would be.
Yeah, encryption is an important control. It's just one aspect of it, right? So I would think these days the sophisticated companies know that encryption is not the end to all means, right? So it's one control that you can deploy.
Access management being important as well. Probably.
Access management and proper classification of data, right?
And finding your data.
Discovery, classification, and control.
Yeah. Now you were telling me you think applications are going to be kind of synonymous with a lot of cybersecurity in the coming years. Is that right?
Well, application level being
really important.
being super important, data level too, and if you think about, Mark Andreessen wrote this paper on software is eating the world, right?
Famous.
And right. And but if the software is not secure, then we are looking at a humongous monster eating the world that is leading to a state of perpetual insecurity, right? So we need, and people are realizing this now, most of the attacks coming in through application vulnerabilities, and that's where people have been talking for a long time. I covered application security at Forrester, but it was always the stepchild of the CISO's organization, has been. And now I think we are seeing a lot more investment or focus putting on application level security versus infrastructure.
Well, it's probably both application security and also just software security.
To your point. Software,
so I think that as everything becomes software defined, I worry, I'm curious what you think, as we kind of get rid of a lot of hardware, really, and do everything in software on generic hardware. Do all those problems, Mark Andreessen, well, he said software eating everything, that was not a problem, but then we came along and went, wow, there's all kinds of vulnerabilities. Does that collide a little bit, or do you?
It does collide if you are not treating software security as a first priority.
If you don't do it right.
Yeah, if you don't do it right. And these days, the containerized security, the containerized workloads, for instance, give you a lot of new controls to play with, right? So security control becomes more declarative. You can look at the container and basically stipulate statically how it should be run, where it should be run, and policies that can go along with it. Actually make security a little bit easier in runtime. And so I just think people need to leverage those controls more.
Now let's shift gears a little bit. So you're an expert in capital and investing and so on. If there's some people watching right now and they say, oh, I see Ed has Chenxi Wang. I'm going to watch this because I'd like to get some funding. What's your advice to early stage companies that are looking to grow and might need some capital? What do you normally advise?
Sure. So one of the things that I always tell entrepreneurs, especially those that come to raise capital for the first time, is normally you're so excited about the things you're building, right? You think it's the coolest thing in the world, otherwise you would not be working on it. But many of those entrepreneurs couldn't like take a step back and say, okay, what does this mean? This thing I'm building, how does that impact a customer? How does that solve a problem, right? So always start with the problem, not start with the technology.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, customer. So many conversations I go into, they say, oh, we built this thing, look how cool it is. And I said, and?
They tell you the what, but no so what.
Right. So, and I go into these conversations always putting my sort of a security user's hat on. I said, how does that impact my life? How does it make me spending less money or be less busy or be more efficient, right? And you have to answer those questions first before describing the nitty-gritty details about your technology.
That's fantastic. Hey, you enjoying running the company and working in the industry in this role?
Yes, I'm still very much a hands-on researcher type, right? So I try to get in front of users as much as I can. I'm actually visiting a few companies here, not vendor companies, user companies, and sitting down with them to go through their roadmap and ask them questions about how they do cloud security. So that helps me understand the market and do informative investment decisions.
That's fantastic. Now, I can't let you leave without making a couple of predictions about some technologies that you think will be big. Like if you and I are sitting here 5 years from now, what are we talking about?
Oh, 5 years from now, I think, so even though I'm a security person, I advocate security being built into applications, built into infrastructure more and more, right? I think, so you agree. I think security people have to get away from managing nitty-gritty infrastructure and small details about the environment. You really have to focus on policy, focus on how you want to protect versus what the implementation of it.
You think we'll get there? You think in 5 years we'll be there?
Not in 5 years, but I think the direction is going there.
And the reason is that there'll probably be a lot of opposition amongst existing practitioners to see too much bleed into the business unit? Is that a little cynical?
Possibly. But if you look at again, going back to the cloud native world, you see a lot of companies now having operations folks embedded in the business unit, and gradually so they have security functions embedded into the business unit. And the idea is really the business unit knows their application, knows their operation the best, and they understand how to protect it, or they understand the requirements of which to protect it. And so I think that's the direction.
If people want to learn more, should they follow you on Twitter or go to the website or all of the above?
All the above. I'm at Chenxi Wang, one word, on Twitter, and raincapital.vc.
I really do appreciate you stopping by. I know how busy you are, and I'm glad you were able to visit with us here in Manhattan.
Thank you. Thank you
Wonderful
for having me.
to see you again. Great. And we will see you next time.